In the heart of the Caribbean lies the Dominican Republic, an island nation known for its rich culture, breathtaking landscapes, and a history marked by both triumph and tragedy. Today, we delve into a period that casts a long shadow over the nation's past, the Trujillo Dictatorship. From 1930 to 1961, the country was ruled by the iron fist of General Rafael Trujillo Molina, a man whose name became synonymous with authoritarianism and oppression in Latin America. But how did this regime come into power, and how did it manage to stay in place for over 3 decades? Let's find out. Rafael Trujillo was born in 1891 in the small town of San. His early life was humble, and his rise to power was nothing short of meteoric. His military career began under the U.S. occupation of the Dominican Republic, when the Marines trained him as part of the new Dominican National Guard. Ambitious, disciplined, and ruthless, he rose quickly through the ranks. And when President Horacio Vazquez's government began to crumble amidst political unrest, Trujillo aligned himself with rebel forces and seized power. He then ran for president in a fraudulent election, winning nearly 100% of the vote, and began a dictatorship that would last for over 3 decades. But what made Trujillo's regime so brutal and enduring? Let's break down 3 aspects of his regime. First, his cult of personality. Trujillo's regime was characterized by a carefully crafted cult of personality. His image was everywhere, adorning coins, stamps, buildings, and even school textbooks. The capital city, Santo Domingo, was renamed Ciudad Trujillo, and citizens were required to publicly praise him. This constant propaganda created an atmosphere of fear and enforced conformity. Then there was the political repression. Opposition parties were either banned or absorbed into Trujillo's party. Newspapers were censored and critics were jailed, tortured, or killed. The secret police, known as the SIM, were omnipresent, and the entire country lived in fear of their brutality. But it gets worse with economic monopoly. By the 1950s, Trujillo and his family controlled as much as 80% of the Dominican economy. They owned land, industries, banks, and even sugar plantations. This created a system of dependency and ensured that the vast majority of the population lived in poverty, while the elite few lived in luxury. However, despite all this repression, Trujillo managed to stay in power for over 3 decades. How did he do it? Well, he achieved this longevity through a combination of factors. Firstly, he played the nationalist card, positioning himself as a champion of the Dominican people against foreign influence. He also cultivated a network of informants and spies who kept him informed about any potential threats to his regime. And he was always ready to use brutal force to crush any opposition. One of the most infamous episodes of his regime was the Parsley Massacre of 1937. In an effort to cleanse the border with Haiti, Trujillo ordered the killing of Haitians and dark-skinned Dominicans along the frontier. Suspected Haitians were asked to pronounce the Spanish word perejil, parsley. Those who could not roll the R were executed. It was a horrific display of brutality, and it cemented Trujillo's legacy as a brutal nationalist leader. Trujillo's foreign policy was a mixture of pragmatism and opportunism. He maintained close ties with the United States throughout much of his rule. Staunchly anti-communist, he was a valuable ally during the Cold War. However, he also meddled in the affairs of other Caribbean nations, supporting coups and even attempting to assassinate Venezuelan President Romulo Betancourt in 1960. This ultimately led to his downfall, as it turned international opinion firmly against him. Despite the infrastructure projects and economic development that took place during his regime, Trujillo's legacy is overwhelmingly negative. He was responsible for the deaths of thousands of Dominicans, and the wealth he amassed was built on a foundation of corruption and exploitation. On May 30th, 1961, Rafael Trujillo was ambushed while driving through Santo Domingo. He was shot and killed by conspirators that included former allies. While his family tried to maintain power, they were forced into exile within 2 years. The Trujillo Dictatorship might be over, but its impacts still resonate today. The country's infrastructure was modernized, but at what cost? The legacy of mass killings, corruption, and fear still linger. So, what can we learn from this dark chapter of history? Firstly, it's a reminder of the seductive but ultimately destructive nature of authoritarian promises. Secondly, it highlights the importance of protecting civil liberties and the rule of law. And finally, it's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, as we see in the courage of those who resisted Trujillo's regime despite the very real danger to their lives. If you want to learn more about the Trujillo era, I highly recommend reading The Feast of the Goat by Mario Vargas Llosa. It's a powerful novel that brings to life this dark chapter of Dominican history. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please show your support so that we can keep bringing you more informative content. Until next time, stay curious,